Hey, my friends, what's up? So, I just want to ramble and just talk for a minute about a few things. Um, I do have some very strong opinions about schools, school systems, curriculums, all this jazz. And I used to be a teacher. And the thing about this is that the school system, in my opinion, has gotten so off the wall that for me to be a part of it anymore is just not possible. Just not possible. And over time, I think it's gotten worse. And I kind of wanted to maybe get your feedback, or if anything, maybe you just want to listen. But I just wanted to kind of just talk about this because there's so many ongoing debates about various aspects of modern day schooling. And I may not have all the answers. I'm sure I don't. I'm sure that it's just mostly my opinion about things, just from my subjective interactions and experience in my life. But I can tell you, though, that I've seen enough to form opinions that are based in reality. And I'm here to tell you that from the way I look at it, this debate about year-round schooling, I don't know if it's so good of an idea. You know, you go to school for like 2 months and you get 2 weeks off, and you go back for 2 months and get another 2 weeks off, and you do that for the whole year. And there is no official like spring break or winter break, which isn't that big of a deal because they typically last only like a week or two anyways. But the big one is that there is no summer break. There is no summer break. That's a big problem in my opinion. I think you need a good 2.5 to 3 months minimal to kind of reset the body, to kind of get things in a more relaxed tone, to kind of learn in different ways outside of the school, to have some time with family and things like that. And in my opinion, I think that the summer break that is typical here in the United States of 2.5 to 3 months is really not long enough. It really isn't. I think you need to have at least another month in there, if you were to ask me. Of course, you may say, well, why is that? And I have my reasons more specifically, but I think in a nutshell is that more than ever, kids are exposed to so much technology and they have so much more stress than even when I was in school. They need a little more time to recoup and to reset their system. And once again, there's so many other ways to learn than just in the classroom. And I think we need to afford our kids those opportunities and to have more time, with parents. Kids and parents need to have time for each other. So that's that. But I also want to say that the class time is also a bit overdone. I think that sitting in a class between 6.5 to 8 hours, which is kind of typical for most schools, 6.5 to 8 hours a day is excessive. It's excessive. I think 5 hours is plenty. I mean, good Lord. I mean, how much can you focus in one day? And then also to go to school 5 days a week. I mean, seriously? Maybe like every other day, or at least cut the school week down to maybe like 3 days a week or something. This idea that when you go 5 days a week, you get 2 days off, and then you got sports on top of that, and you got social functions, and all this pressure. I mean, it burns kids out. Just burns everybody out, really. Even parents have a hard time keeping up with it, and a lot of them don't even keep up with it. They just give up. So you got all these problems. But the main focus for this video is really more about the break, the summer break. Do you think it's long enough or too short, or you should just change the whole format of the schedule of the school year? And what do you think about other countries that have a shorter summer break, or much longer, or that go year round, or that really promote homeschooling more than public schooling? And that's one thing I want to touch on before I end this video. I just want to say that homeschooling is something that I was against for a long time, but in the last 10 years I really have woken up to not only just the benefits but the actual results. I mean, just look at the results. Look at the test scores of kids that are homeschooled. It's unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying that all parents do a good job at homeschooling their kids, but the ones that I've seen really have done unbelievably well. And I think that when you can give individual attention and meet the kid where they're at and not try to put everybody under the same label as that they have to learn certain things, because that's really, in my opinion, irresponsible and disrespectful to the kids to say that, well, this is the subject matter that we're teaching today. Well, that's all good and all, but what happens if that child developmentally can't keep up with that material? And you know how it is. Some kids are a couple years ahead of others, just developmentally, emotionally, or just psychologically, or just, they can think in the abstract more, the whole range. Even physically, people are just different levels. And then, of course, at the same time, there's people that are maybe a year or two behind the average person in the class. So sometimes classroom teaching is boring to some kids because developmentally they're already beyond that. And then you have kids that can't keep up because developmentally they're not there yet. So it's just not fair to 2 of the 3 segments of the class. And I'm here to say that that's why homeschooling works so well, because you meet the child where they're at developmentally, and you're not trying to compare them against other people and throwing these so-called grades on them. Oh, that's an A or that's a B. It's more about what do you know and what you don't know. What do we need to work on and what do you already understand? What have you mastered and what have you not? That's the bigger and more important question than if you're an A student or a B student or an F student. And I think that that's a major problem, all these labels on kids. And I think that sports is also another big ball of stress for a lot of kids. It may help some kids, and it does, but I think we have to use that in moderation. Sports can be so abused. And you typically find that, kids either go one or the other. It's hard to find kids that are balanced between their academics and their sports. There's kids out there that do have the balance, but they typically also have very balanced parents. And so what you typically find is that they're either like a sports jock and they don't do well in academics, or they're just a nerd, or that's what they're called, a nerd, and they do great in academics. That was more me. And then sports, you just don't even have a clue. Like I didn't have any interest in sports. I was on the chess team, and I did play basketball when I was really young, but I really, growing up, I don't really have any interest in sports, I mean, if you're into that, that's awesome. But it's just one of those things. It's a personal preference. And for me, it was just, I was kind of pushed by the family, and there was more motivation to perform academically because that was what was believed to give me more results long term than just being someone that was good at playing basketball or football. And I would agree. But at the same time, you don't want to push your kids unless they just need a little motivation. Like I was already a very motivated person, and there's a lot of people that are self-motivated. And if you're self-motivated, you don't need that extra push because it becomes an extra stressor. So give some room with your kids. That's why summer break is important. Let your kids be kids. And when they get to be around 16 to 17 and they qualify in your country or whatever it is in your country, age-wise, that they can get their first job, you might want to bring it up with your kid, but don't be like, you got to get a job or I'm going to kick you out of the house. I've heard this before. It's ridiculous. Now, I got my first job when I was 16, and it was just a part-time job working at a park, and it was fine. But some kids, they may not get their first job until they're 17 or 18. I don't know. It just depends on the kid. I'm not sure what is the best thing for your kid. I know some kids that are just biting at the bit when they're 14 and 15 to work. They're begging their parents, can I have a job, and they're just really little kids. And so every kid is different. And so you allow your kid to be who they are. Life is difficult enough, and life goes by fast enough. And you don't want to look back and go, man, I just really pushed my kid in a bad way, too hard. And you can destroy people, You can destroy kids and make them very vulnerable as an adult for various problems. So the whole idea of being a parent is to build up your child and allow them opportunities to learn and grow, to love them and to show them what that is. That's a big thing. Recently I did a video that talked about parenting to some degree. It wasn't like a full-on parenting video. And there was a comment about that in particular about, that's one of the things that, parents are supposed to do is to love their kids and show affection and things. Obviously, sure. But it's also about, giving them opportunities, of course, and to put them into a situation that they have as much growth as they can handle, but not be so much that it's expected or it's overwhelming. And that's a difficult thing sometimes to know how to do. And I mean, there is no perfect way to be a perfect parent, and there's no such thing as a perfect parent, and nor should there be a such thing as a perfect parent. That would be kind of, I guess that wouldn't be human, would it? That would be kind of like robotic, if you're perfect this. We're not supposed to be perfect at anything. I mean, that's why life is so mysterious or so kind of challenging, and it's also very interesting and kind of cool in a lot of ways. I guess that's just because that's how we are as humans. We relate to that, to different and imperfect levels of competency and the struggle of humanity, the constant ongoing barrage of being wrong, but eventually being right. I mean, there's something to be said about all of that. And there's nothing wrong with being part of the struggle. The human condition, that's one of my favorite words. The human condition is just marvelous. It's dark at the same time. It's also just sunny and bright. It's like the mix of everything. The human condition. You can't really think of much more than that would be so dynamic. It's just like an all and everything word. Human condition. I guess it's two words, but it's amazing. When you think about our life and how we've changed as a young person to who we are now, and how much more we will change in the years to come, it's fabulous. And so we don't really stay the same at all. I mean, it's not like we're static, humans. We're dynamic. We're like always evolving, and not evolving into another species. Like so many people try to tell me that, we just came from fish, and they slowly evolved into like great apes or whatever they want to say. Sometimes they changed whatever the species is. And then we've evolved from that, whatever, you believe whatever you want to believe. I'm talking about evolving, as a person, as a human. That's what it's about. It's coming into our own, it's finding out more of who we are. That's a mystery. That's a mystery that we're all trying to solve. So a lot of us indirectly. We're trying to kind of figure it out because we know that directly we can't get that much of a result. We can't just ask ourselves, who are we? You may get somewhere with it, but I don't know anybody that has walked away with these big answers of who they are. You may understand your motivations and that you like things over others and so forth, but I mean, seriously, when you try to think about who you are, it changes so much because who we are changes. It's a little hard to put your finger on it. It's really difficult, but it's also very interesting. So, wow, it's like the whole idea as well of who we are as a species, for example. Like, what is the true history of humanity, of people? Like, how far do we actually go back? Where did we actually come from? Did we really evolve from another species? Probably not. There's no evidence from that. Well, where did we come from if we didn't then? Big mysteries. I mean, there's some really interesting things out there that really are best left just kind of at face value. Science sometimes wants to put everything in boxes and label everything and just want to take all the mystery out of things, or they just want to try to like assume that they have this theory that will solve something. And it's not the case. There's like much more that we have absolutely no clue about than having some clue about, if you know what I mean. So anyways, just let me know what you think about the school system and the school schedules. Or maybe you don't want to comment at all. I know there's a lot of people who don't like to comment, and that's fine. But it makes it for a more fun video when there's comments to look at. And I mean, there's definitely a few dozen you guys that comment on like every video, and you guys are awesome. I really do appreciate you guys. Sometimes it's a little hard to kind of get back with everyone, but I do appreciate you guys very much. And I just want to thank everyone for your ongoing support. There's been a couple individuals, I don't know who they are because it doesn't tell me when I log in, but that use the links. There's a few people that use the links in the description section, the description box, and bought some things on Amazon, and I got the commission for it, and I'm really appreciative of that. A couple people went on some shopping sprees, if you will, and man, I really do want to say thank you for that. It made a big difference. in terms of like the revenue that I make, like from the ads from the video, it's so minimal. It's a joke. Like it's almost nothing. So obviously I'm not making videos for money per se, because there is no money to be made. In terms of the links that I provide from time to time, that actually can be more beneficial than the ad revenue. So when you put both together, it's just enough to make this kind of as a fun hobby, but it's not even enough to even be called like a part-time job. It's that bad. And that's why there's a lot of people that have left YouTube and different social media platforms, because it's just hard to justify the time. It really is. And I'm always torn if I should make videos or just stop making videos, you know, and I don't want to be like a broken record and be like someone that's like, yum, 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 you know, complain. I'm not complaining. It's just sometimes you just wonder how you spend your time and how is that, you know, going to be the most beneficial for most people. And I get a big kick out of making videos. So it's something that I like doing. And if I didn't like it, I really wouldn't be doing it still. But because it's, you know, it's not really benefiting me that much in the sense of financial, but it does benefit me in other ways. Some of you guys just crack me up in some of the comments. And so I may not always show my response in terms of laughter, but I do laugh at a lot of your responses. And so that's a good, healthy medicine for me, you know, to have more laughter and stuff. So yeah, I'll catch you later.